This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Welcome back, everyone. We are revisiting a clip from episode 81, Boyce, Bron, The Black Experience and You, posted all the way back in April of 2023. In this episode, we were joined by high school teacher Jamaal C Boyce, and we discussed how he created his groundbreaking high school course and his book, Teenage Perspectives on the Black Experience in America. Jamaal has since been nominated for 2024's Black Author Festival at SAG Harper's Business Professional Community Leaders and Author Award. We hope that you all give a listen to Mr. Boyce and support his nomination by heading to the link in the bio, blackauthorsfestival.com/vote BAF24.
High school teacher, author of Teenage Perspectives on the Black Experience in America, and Lebron James superfan, Mr. Boyce. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How you doing, James? How's everything?
Good. Thanks for being here.
Having me, Charlie. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We can't wait to talk to you about your book and talk to you about a bunch of other things as well. We're excited about to jump into it. I feel like this is a morning announcement moment. So we're going to get into it. So there's going to be music. We got JD and the Bandalorians firing up to my right. They're going to play the jingle. We're going to come out of this and we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Boyce.
Mandalorian fans, won't you lend me an ear? I hope this podcast sound is crystal clear. Now listen up, people, I got something to say. These are the morning announcements for today.
JD and the Bandalorians, everybody. Listen, the band's doing work. We don't pay him a dime, but he's doing work over there. All right, now, I've known this man for a couple of years now. He works in the district that we actually are both in. He was a teacher for my son, Carter. You know Carter, friend of the show, won't come on the show. In Buffalo now, refuses to talk. He's been on here 6 times, won't come on the show. But he started off as a student for Mr. Boyce. I got to know him that way. I remember him coming home, and then we were figuring out the schedule for open house. And he kept saying, Daddy, you have to go see Mr. Boyce. Make sure you go to Mr. Boyce. You have to go. I'm like, okay, you're going to like him, Daddy. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I don't want to make friends at this age. I can't. I'm not going to like you. You know, Mr. G, we're at an age like, I'm done making friends. I got 4. I'm good. But now I became friends with him. I don't know how it happened. The book he's written is called The Teenage Perspectives on the Black Experience in America. It's an amazing book. And his story of how this course that he created came about is fascinating. The book is amazing. His story is amazing. We're going to talk to him for a little bit now. Mr. Boyce, thank you again for doing this for us. We really appreciate having you here today.
Jimmy, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on. Charlie, I appreciate you having me on. I'm humbled. It's a pleasure. I thank you for your kind words. That makes me feel good. And let's do it. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah.
Humble.
And I must say, this is actually your book is an actual book that I actually read.
Oh, thank you.
I actually read it with my own eyes.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Okay, when the audio version comes out, I just want to do it. Let me do it. If you don't want to do it, Mr. Boyce, I'll do the audio version.
I would let you do the audio version. I'm
not gonna steal your voice. No.
Yeah, no. I think people are sick of my voice, so I will let you do it. No problem.
Occasionally, there are books that are voiced by the actual author.
Yeah. Yes. So, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do one.
All right, Mr. Boyce, listen. You're here. We're going to keep the teacher theme. You're in an interview process. We need to interview. We need to find out about you. You have this book. You want to join the Fandalorians? Do you belong here? Even though we invited you. Here we go. It's a panel. When I was interviewed, there was like 10 people. Mm-hmm. Mr. G, would you have like 9, 10? It was wild when we were interviewed.
It was a while ago.
It was a long time. It's just 2 for you. So we're coming in light. Yes, my kids like you, or you're coming in light. Mr. G, let's get him. Get him with some questions. Let's see what he's got.
All right, here's the first one. This one is a slow ball. So, Mr. Boyce, you said you've been teaching for 19 years now?
20 years.
20 years.
20 years, yes, sir.
So, why'd you decide to become a teacher? At what point did you realize that you wanted to wear the shirt and tie every day?
So, basically, long story short, I was in college. Teaching was the last thing I thought I would do, believe it or not. My father worked for New York Life. He was the vice president. into business and so forth, so on, wore a suit and tie every day. I liked that kind of lifestyle. I was like, whoa, this, worked in Manhattan. So when I went to college, my freshman year, my major was economics. I love economics. The problem for me was I was bad at math. I got out of it. I just can't do math. So I got out of it. I didn't even try to persevere through it. I just said, you know what? Economics, I love. Math, I can't stand because I'm terrible at it. Then I really didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I did psychology as a major, got out of that. I did computer science, wrote a few computer programs, got out of that. I'm kind of aimlessly going through college. And then somebody said to me, hey, you love history. I said, yeah, I love history. They said, you love children. I said, yeah, I love working with kids. They said, why don't you be a history teacher? Boom, there you go. So I changed my major to history education. Still didn't know if I would like teaching until I student taught. And when I student taught, I kind of felt like I had a natural ability to teach. And student teaching was when I realized, okay, I can do this. I can do this for the rest of my career. Obviously, when you're student teaching, you're protected from the dirt of teaching, contracts and so forth, so on, and all that other stuff. So it had more of a purity to it. But I really like the aspect of teaching people and getting them to understand something they never understood before. So I would say student teaching is actually when I realized that teaching was meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. I can go ahead, Mr. J.
No, I was going to say, I liked how you did not say you could do this for the rest of your life. You caught yourself because you do have that eye and that prize for retirement, because sometimes we get pigeon-toed into thinking that this is our identity as a teacher, but we're not. We're much more. And
right.
We happen to be nerds. So
and that's okay. That's okay.
But I'm curious. Yeah. So I hear you.
And I would say, like, for me, I love teaching but being a teacher in the profession, there's days I'm like, oh boy, this is kind of, but teaching is in me. I think when I retire from the teacher profession, I'll still be a teacher. I'll still be teaching somebody something till the day I die, because a teacher is useless without a student. Mm-hmm. So an apprentice. So I will retire from being a teacher in the school setting, but I'm always going to be a teacher looking to teach somebody something. It's just in me. And student teaching has really showed me that. Like, wow, I like this.
The other parts of this job are sometimes terrible, which leads me to my next question, where, we read it in the book, and I kind of talked to you during the process of it happening, but it is a good story, and I don't know if you mind sharing as much of it you can.
So what happened was Riverhead High School had a course called African American History and Literature. Okay, and it had been around for a little while, and I had a few students in it, and members of the community. They were upset because a white teacher was teaching it, and they felt that a black teacher should teach it. So I was approached to go in and say, hey, would you be interested in teaching African-American history and literature? And I flat out said, no, I have no interest. Now, to a lot of people on the surface, they'd be like, oh, how could a black man not have any interest in teaching African-American history and literature? There were several reasons. Number one, it's just another history class. A lot of kids, they don't want to take another history class. It's more of the same by a different name. Mm-hmm. And the other main reason was I did not want to be a black face in the course, so they could say to the public, hey, we have a black man teaching African-American history course.
Leave us alone.
Right. There's no change, back off, so forth, so on. So what I devised was something completely different. I completely eradicated the African-American history course, and I said, I'll do this. I'll do a course called the Black Experience, where it's not a history course. Even though history is an element of it, we're going to look at the many different experiences of so-called Black Americans. See, everybody thinks that all African Americans have the same history. They don't. So I want to look at perspectives. I want my students to do critical thinking. And I came up with controversial topics. Because remember, at the time when I created the course, critical race theory was hotly debated. It still kind of is now. The 1619 Project. George Floyd had just been murdered. So I want to discuss controversial things that my students, who are mostly juniors and seniors, could relate to, not necessarily just everything being in the past and history. I presented to the district. I thought they would say no, and they actually said yes. I also said to the district, I have to have full autonomy in the course. I didn't want people, especially people who were not African American, dictating what I can teach about the Black experience, because I am the black. I'm a black man, self-identified black man. So you shouldn't be telling me what I should be discussing with my students. They were okay with it. And that's why I got rid of African-American history and literature. And I went to the Black Experience in America, which is a totally different course than African-American history and literature.
My favorite part of the story is the fact that you just assumed they'd say no. And they said, sure. And
I was shocked.
Said, I want full power. Sure. Okay.
Right.
I'm in the office. Okay.
It shocked me. I didn't think they would go for it because some of the things that we discuss in the course, like, if you guys read the book, the usage of the N-word, some of the things in the class, segregation versus integration, which is better for Black Americans. Like, you probably never heard that before. And it's like, whoa, but it's things that I'm coming with different perspectives of Black Americans and showing them that there's no one perspective for all Black people. There's multiple perspectives. We have to honor that and respect that and discuss it.
While teaching in your book, you kind of go about what you taught in the class and your discussions and that. But what surprised you the most about teaching this course in the end?
So the thing that surprised me the most was actually the support that I got initially from the community. I thought when they heard about this course, you got to remember, again, critical race theory, when I created the course was huge. Mm-hmm. It was such a, like you said, hot button topics at the time. I thought members of the community would think that I was indoctrinating the students. I was doing critical race theory and blaming white people for things, which is not the essence of anything of the course. That never happened. When a Riverhead local article came out about the course, because nobody really knew that the course existed, and about the change, I said, "Oh, here we go. They're gonna come to the board meetings and call."
I remember you told me.
Me and Jimmy had this discussion.
Let me interrupt you. So, in terms of this school year today, this was how long ago did you start this class?
So I created the class in it was the 2021-2022 school year, because we're in 2022-2023 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So it's in the 2021-2022 school year was the pilot year. It was the first year of the.
So this is your second year of teaching.
This is my second year teaching. Okay. So you got to remember, George Floyd was murdered the previous year before. Critical race theory was hot. 1619 Project was hot. You had the election that had just happened. So you had many Trump people, many Biden people. Things were just hot.
Coming out of COVID too. People were just angry. So now I just thought that when they heard Black experience, and a Black teacher, what is he indoctrinating? He's going to be doing critical race theory, and he's going to be telling that all white people are bad. That's not the case. And even still today, with the information about the course out, people make assumptions about the course where they're like, oh, it's this. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. You got to come in. Jimmy's come in. He's actually presented in the course, and he's seen it's completely different than any course you've ever seen in a high school setting. No other school or class is like this. And the book is an extension to kind of give the reader an idea of what we're doing in the class. But the community support, I had teachers who came in on their off periods just to sit in and watch. Parents showed me a lot of support. A lot of people in the community, I really got no negative feedback, which actually surprised me because I was ready for it. And I remember a teacher told me when the first Riverhead local article came out, she said that was the first time she had ever seen everybody in unison agree on something. And I was like, she said it never happens. So that was the actual biggest surprise to me, was the initial support and the continued support I get from the community about the course. You know what? And I can second you on that because I work in the district. Granted, I'm in the elementary school, so I'm super removed. I literally heard nothing, any blowback from this this class. So it's true. You did get the support from the community.
Yeah, and that shocked me because I was lawyered up. I was ready to go to board meetings. I was like, man, they're going to come for my neck. But they never did. Never
did. Knock on your door. You get nervous. They put a fruit basket out front. Like, what? Don't eat the fruit. We don't know.
Yeah. So that was the biggest surprise, I would say.
So what's important about this course, and I don't think it's been said yet, but I'm going to say it because as you pointed out, I was there. Mr. Boyce, people are, as he said, are always a fear. You're indoctrinating children, stuff like that. That's always a big fear in society now that teachers are out there pushing their agenda. So they tell you, I want you to say this. It's always funny to me when they're like, don't indoctrinate your children, but I want you to teach this exact stuff that I'm giving you. So by definition, you're asking me to indoctrinate them with what you want me to do versus what it's a trip to me. But anyway, the best part of this course in the classroom, the kids have zero idea what you're thinking. And I've been in the room for conversations where a kid will say something pro Biden, you'll argue a Trump perspective. They'll be pro Trump, you'll switch it quickly and argue the Biden perspective.
Correct.
You play as devil's advocate for everything. My son used to come home and say, Daddy, I don't even know what he really thinks, because they have no idea what you think about anything other than
Correct.
LeBron argument we've had in front of them. So my question then is it hard though? Because is it hard when they say some things where you know that on the other Mr. Jamaal is thinking one thing in your head, but you got to stay in Mr. Boyce's character and keep it moving? Is it hard sometimes to fight the urge to say something that would tip your hand? I know you've gotten good at it now, but is it hard initially in the beginning? So
it's actually not hard for me because I love different perspectives. I really do. I even like in our discussions, Jimmy, like you have different perspectives on, like, again, Jordan, LeBron, but I respect other people's perspectives because I understand that I could be wrong. And I kind of think to myself, well, I could be wrong here. And I want to hear what you think because it enlightens me to another person's perspective. I kind of learn from the person. Even if I disagree, I'm actually learning in the disagreement. Yes. So it's actually pretty easy for me. I love playing devil's advocate. Maybe I'm just a troll, or maybe I really am a villain. Right. I just like angering people. Yeah. Maybe that's just who I am. Honestly, there are occasions, slight occasions, where we're having a deep discussion and the students will say something, and I really kind of want to say time out, pause, and say, that might destroy your life. But then that goes back into indoctrination. I don't want to tell them what to think.
But they'll say something that's really close to like, please don't ever repeat that outside the room. I don't want to say.
I'm praying to myself. I pray in my head, like, I hope you change your mindset as you get older on that. Right. Not everything, but like we had a discussion about abortion and fatherhood in the Black community. And I'm discussing with them, we're doing devil's advocate, and one of the beauties about my course is it's the only course where the student is encouraged to challenge the teacher. Mm-hmm. So I tell them, come back, even though they don't know what I think, I tell them, come back at me. Whatever I say, you are allowed, respectfully, don't curse me out or anything like that. Right. You can challenge me. I'm going to challenge you. You can challenge me. And we had a discussion about abortion and fatherhood in the Black community. And it was a deep discussion. And, a lot of the girls had their perspectives. And I played devil's advocate to it. But it almost came to, at the end of class, I felt like pausing and saying, ladies, we need to have a serious talk about your perspectives. But I didn't want to do that because, again, I didn't want to indoctrinate them. Correct. And I'm going to tip my hand. So occasionally that happens, but 99% of the time, it's actually easy for me to just let them give their perspectives, challenge them. Because in the end, when I challenge them with facts and logic, even they sometimes have to acknowledge that, okay, some of the stuff that I'm saying is kind of off. Even though they may not change it, they'll acknowledge, hey, I understand my perspective is kind of whacked, but this is still my perspective and I still respect it.
Mm-hmm. Right. It goes, kudos to you and for teachers like you and us that, we really create an environment where kids feel safe to have this conversation. And one of the things, this is a very loose analogy to what you just said. But given the opportunity, like when I'm working on creating a lesson, creating like a project that I'm doing with my class, I have to bounce these ideas off of people. Right. And sometimes I have to hear it out loud for me to be like, I like this idea. Oh, I don't like that idea. All along, I know I wanted to do this, but I just wanted to hear myself say it out loud to someone else.
Right.
And, getting the kids to talk freely and have the permission to be safe to say what they want to say and allow them to think and then hear what they say out loud to someone else. It's a truly amazing experience. And I was telling Mr. Richardson earlier that in college, I was part of through my roommate, I would go to the La Familia Latina, which was the Latin Student Union. And that was a safe place to have these discussions that I was having in college. But for high school kids, I think it's very important that they, high school kids, that have a place where they can actually like speak out loud freely, but hear themselves and then reflect on what they're saying.
Right.
And have these different ideas. So it's an amazing thing. which brings me to my question here.
Sure.
Is that, do you see this class as a blueprint for other classes where you can help teachers create maybe a woman's experience
Mm-hmm.
or the Jewish experience or a Muslim experience or a Hispanic experience in America? Would you be interested in helping people create projects like that?
So absolutely. So the course, I created my course because I saw some fundamental problems with American education. Number one, indoctrination. I think American education, we're pretty much indoctrinating our students. We're teaching them things and telling them things. And if a student challenges it, they get punished. He's a rebel rouser or she's bad, so forth, so on. Well, indoctrination, if you look at the definition, it's being taught a set of beliefs without the ability to critique it. So if we don't give our students a chance to critique what we're teaching them, that is literally indoctrination. I always argue we start the school day with indoctrination, the Pledge of Allegiance, every single day. Mm-hmm. So my daughter is 5. She's saying the Pledge of Allegiance. She does not know what she's saying. Mm-hmm. You can't challenge it. You could argue that that is indoctrination. Now, I didn't say not to do the pledge. See, and that's the whole premise of the course. I'm just pointing out a different perspective.
Right.
The other problem that I saw or I see in education is critical thinking. We don't teach our students to think critically. We don't teach them to be open-minded, understand different perspectives, which is why I created the course as I did. It's a critical thinking course. There's no indoctrination. So my course is different than African-American history because they're teaching African-American history and experience. I'm discussing African-American history and experience. That's the main difference. I'm not teaching to the students. I'll show them something from history, but I'm not teaching it to them. I'm showing it to them to create a discussion about multiple perspectives about that topic. That's the difference between my class and the traditional history class. So I would love for my class to spread, and then another problem is the history experiences of Black Americans. I think most schools are inauthentic when it comes to teaching Black history and Black experiences. And I really don't think most schools care. And I'll give an example of why this is. So if you look at most schools, what do they do for Black History Month? They put up pictures of Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and so forth, so on, right, for the whole month. And then what do most of them do on March 1st?
Take it all down.
They take them down, right? So if our history and our experience really matters, why are you taking down March 1st? Now, I asked my students, I said, if I were to put up pictures of famous Black people like Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X on October 1st, what would the average comment be? Why are you putting that up? It's not Black History Month.
Right.
That just proves the point of why this course is so needed. I'm doing this all year with my students. I'm talking about their history and experiences. I'm not just relegating it to 1 month of time where we do the fancy, we have the Black History show. All right, we did our part. And March 1st, we take it down. We did our job. No.
Women's history is next.
Right. Women's History Month is next. Oh, we do something nice for women. We shut it down. So my course is hopefully going to be an inspiration. I would love for schools adopted my course and then branch off. I've actually suggested a women's experience course. We actually have a Latin American experience course in our school. It's not done the same way my course is done. It's done completely different. But for the way I teach my class, I would love if more schools took it on and would allow students to have critical thinking, be allowed to challenge the teacher and voice their perspectives. Because these students have told me some things they've never told any other adult, even their parents. They voiced with me about certain situations that have happened. Well, if we're not giving them an outlet and not giving them the chance to hear what they're saying and to be challenged about what they're saying, well, education is going to continue being what it is. Our country will continue being what it is, and nothing will ever change.
It definitely works. I remember Carter and Hayden currently will challenge everything. And I can hear them. And I've known you well enough to know your debate style. They sound like you. Hayden sounded like you. Some food from Panera on her phone.
Right.
She yelled to my daughter, Bryn, what she wanted. Hayden makes a comment about how Bryn's not responding. And I say, well, she's looking it up. It ended up into because Hayden and I can go a 20-minute argument over Bryn. Only point is I'm arguing back and forth with her, and I watch her do mannerisms that you do with me, where like she looks off to the side for anyone else for support, looks back, makes so it's this now. Oh, so it's this now. Let me ask you a question, Daddy. This is your line. So it was funny to watch, but I'm
glad I'm having an impact on Hayden because she's actually told me she said, Mr. Boyce, I try to play devil's advocate at home. just to annoy
Yeah.
my parents.
Nice. And I do, honestly, I do it too, though. So we do
Right.
it with each other. We're both.
That's beautiful.
She's very similar. All right. So what made you turn this into a book? Obviously, it's a great story in general. I'm sure it's more than just, oh yeah, this will make a great book. You kept track of it all through the year. Why turn it into a book?
So my wife and a good friend of mine both told me that I should write a book. I had no intention of writing a book. I'm not, what do I know about writing a book? But they told me. So what I did was, when I first started the course, I just kept notes of what I said and what the students were saying, just kind of a record. And I also had their assignments still, what they turned in.
Right.
And I kept notes just in case. And then I kind of figured that as I taught the course, a lot of people are going to have misconceptions about what I'm doing. They're not really going to understand what I'm doing because there's never been a course like this on the high school level. So I figured, what's that?
You had to keep receipts.
Right. So I've kind of figured for a person who's not in the course or can't see the course, the best way to get them to understand what we're doing, that this is not African American history or like any other course in school, is to write a book that would show the reader, oh, this is different. This isn't like a traditional course. So that's why I wrote the book. So it's something tangible so I could attach it to the course.
Yeah, it was very interesting to read through the book about how your discussions unfolded, how, you went through it. And like I said, your book reads like a blueprint in terms of your goal. And really, like you said, you wanted to start with the idea of critical thinking and how to have kids become critical thinkers. You just happen to have the backdrop of the Black experience.
Right.
And, going through and listening to your reading your arguments with the kids, and in my brain, I'm listening to them have these conversations, was like, pointing out the hypocrisy and
right.
this and that. And I feel like your book really does a good job of explaining what you did as a classroom teacher for anyone that wanted to come at you with, negative things and rhetoric about what you're doing to indoctrinate kids. And, it's tough because you were just there to have them really almost look at some of the hypocrisy we have every single day that we're bombarded with through the media, that with hypocrisy every single day.
Right. And if you look at the book, what most people don't realize, and I did this on purpose, when you read the book has as many questions as statements.
Yes.
So if you read the book has as many questions as statements, which means critical thinkers are constantly asking questions. I'm not telling you anything. I'm literally forcing you or challenging you to think. A lot of people, when they read the book, I don't know if they notice that, but the book is littered with questions that aren't necessarily answered. So that's the whole point.
It is very reflective of as a reader, because you're proposing these questions to kids and you're thinking about to yourself, oh, how would I answer that?
Right.
And then you think about it first, and then you read as you're going through the kids. And, it's a very reflective book as an adult at the same time.
Right. So I was hoping that adults who read it, they kind of feel like they're in the class with the students. So, excuse me, it's written in conversational style. Yeah. So the reader feels like they're having a conversation with me and the students at the same time.
As being is this your first time writing a book?
First time and probably my only.
Oh. Well, was there any challenges that you had writing and then publishing this book?
Oh my God. It was, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It was hell on earth. I did not enjoy it one bit. So I wrote the book in 5 weeks.
Ah.
Yeah. It was actually very easy because I had the notes already.
Yes.
So I taught most of the course. I had the notes already. So writing the book, actually, that part was not that hard. But it was very stressful because it was my first time writing a book. I really didn't know what I was doing. And, you got to get the right people to, edit the book. I read my manuscript so many times, my eyes could bleed. Headaches. I'm still working. I'm still I'm a father. I'm a husband. I got to do that stuff. Then you have your other things going on in life. The editing, the formatting, this didn't work out right. I had to fire this person, had to fire another person, had to get this together. And then, this was a mistake. It was very challenging all around. So, I tell people I will never write another book again. This is I think you have to love writing books to do this.
Yeah.
because it's not easy. It's not easy. But many challenges from the very beginning to the end. Yes, between editing, formatting, getting the right numbers, and laying out the money because I'm self-published and making sure. Yeah, it was a challenge. But I'm glad I did it.
I'll say this: you definitely escaped with hardly any gray hairs over there. So that's outstanding.
Just for men. It's called Just for Men.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds super stressful.
It is. It is.
All right. For those of you who don't understand how teaching works, when you get interviewed for a job, it's kind of a two-step process. Step one, you get interviewed by a panel of 10. Mr. Boyce was interviewed by a panel of 2. He's got enough points where I'm going to let him pass through to the next round. Round 2 for a teacher is this. It's called a demo lesson. That's where they put you in a room with a bunch of kids. They give you like very little information, teach them to teach them fractions. And that's all you know. They maybe tell you there's 20 kids in the room and there's 18 people now watching you, and you go and you have like 40 minutes to do a whole lesson. And that's pretty much how to decide if you get a job or not. So let's do this. Mr. Boyce, if you can humor us for a little bit.
Sure.
Let's do a quick demo lesson. Mr. G and I are in your class.
Yep.
And the topic is what's happened recently with the women's college basketball championship. For those of you who don't know, we have Caitlin Clark. She is a guard for the University of Iowa. All year, she's been dominating the college basketball scene, averaging 27 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. Talks a lot of trash. Did the John Cena "you can't see me" thing numerous times all year, to the point where John Cena reached out on Twitter and said, "That's right, they can't see you. You're doing great." Championship game comes. They face LSU, and University of Iowa loses that game. In the process of the loss, Angel Reese for LSU does the John Cena motion, the "you can't see me" thing, to Caitlin Clark, and there's an uproar. Everyone all over the media, the social media world, some media critiques are coming out, calling her classist, calling her this, that, the third. She shouldn't be doing this. Meanwhile, Caitlin's been doing it not only all year, but as little as a week ago, she's been doing it in games, and everyone, she was revered as great, wonderful. She's got that edge, or that sort of thing. That felt like, when I heard the topic, something that would be discussed in the Mr. Boyce class, because there's some lines there. And I didn't mention this before. Caitlin Clark is white and Angel is black. So this feels like a hot button topic. This feels like something. Mr. Boyce, if we were in your class, how would you approach it with us?
Okay. So James, Charlie, you guys know the situation, right?
Right. Yes.
A young white girl, basketball player, Caitlin Clark. She does the taunting all year. Media doesn't care. Nobody says a word.
Right.
Angel Reese, basketball player, black female basketball player, defeats her team, does the same taunt to her, right? And the media destroys her. James, I'll start with you. Why do you think that is?
I'm just going to say because everyone's racist. I'm going to say because she's white, she got to do it, and no one seemed to care. Kind of how Larry Bird got away with a lot of trash talking, and he's revered for being just, and Tom Brady too. He's just into it. He's a pro guy, that kind of thing.
Right.
But as a black athlete doing it, it isn't read the same way. That's how I feel. Okay,
Charlie, how about you? Why do you think the media went at her, at Angel, and not Caitlin?
I actually watched this game, believe it or not. So out of all the basketball I've ever watched for this entire calendar year, no, that's a lie. I was going to say that's the only game I watched. So I coincidentally watched this game, and I'm going to start. I was distracted by the coach's outfit, that sequin, thing she had on. But honestly, my reaction when I first saw it in the article, exactly what Mr. Richardson said. I agree with his take on it, that the media is looking at her from the biased standpoint,
right?
And that's the unfair judgments that she got. So I agree with what Mr. Richardson said.
So you both think that she got this treatment because she's black, and Caitlin didn't get the same treatment because she's white?
Yes.
Am I understanding correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Okay. So let me ask you both a question very quickly. Do you believe that black Americans are covered the same way as white Americans in this country? Do they have to be mindful of their behaviors as black Americans today in this country?
I'm going to say yes. Certain things come off differently than different groups. Something like this is an example of it. So I would say yes, it does occur.
Okay. Charlie, what about you?
From my perspective, I would agree with that statement because it's often the case of reporting that when situations like this happen, it gets reported that way.
Right.
So I would say I've seen this before, and it's not the first time there's been media coverage around this topic.
Okay. So based on what both of you have said, gentlemen, I could argue this is Angel Reese's fault, not the media's.
Really?
Sure, of course I could. Here's why.
Okay.
Based off your statements, if you can acknowledge that Black Americans cannot get away with the same thing as white Americans in the media, why would you then behave in a similar fashion to white Americans?
You're good. You're good. I like this.
Hold on. Say that one again. I got to process that one.
Sure. So if you both acknowledge that Black Americans cannot get away with the same thing that white Americans can, why would you do the same thing that white Americans do and try to get the same treatment? So, for example, at my job, right, if I know as a Black man that white teachers can show up late and be okay, but if I show up a little bit late, they may come at me or write me up. Well, isn't it on me to just not show up late? Why give them a reason to go after me?
Isn't that like victim blaming?
You can make that argument. Are you saying that Black Americans are victims in America?
Yeah.
Because it depends how you think. Because if you think Black Americans are victims, well, then yes, that would be victim blaming. But if I don't think Black Americans are victims, and I say to myself, I can control my behavior. I know, for example, let me give you another perspective. If a woman puts her hands on a man and a man puts his hands right back on that woman, are they going to be treated the same in society? No. Okay, so as a man, I know I can't do the same thing a woman can do because I'm going to be vilified more. So now if you take that perspective and apply it to race, I could actually blame Angel Reese and say, hey, Angel, you know you're not going to get away with the same thing that the white basketball player is. Why even try it? Why bother? You should monitor. Go ahead.
I would argue then, as a student in your class, I was like, well, sure. She wants to buck the system. It's not right. It's not fair. And she's putting herself out there along with other people of all different groups who challenge something that a mistreatment, they feel like they're being mistreated. And it doesn't hurt the fact that she just did it to people. There you go. It's like right there. Same person who did the exact same thing. You know, she challenged the system. Should she not have done it? You know, I think she should have. But
well, when you challenge the system, you have to be prepared for the consequences that come with it. So if you both acknowledge that Black Americans can't move or operate in the same fashion as white Americans and get the same treatment, why would you then try to act in the same way? I could actually argue this is Angel Reese's fault, much in a similar fashion. If a woman puts her hands on me and I put my hands back on her, I may be trying to buck the system and say men and women, but in reality, you know what the consequence is. Whereas for me as a man, I might just say, you know what? I'm not going to hit her back. I can control my actions. They're going to let the white teachers come in late and suspend the Black teachers. You know what? Let me just get there on time.
Is that fair to continue, living that way?
Is life fair? Well, is life fair?
Yeah.
So this is
what he came home with. This is what my kids came home with all the time. They would do this.
Right. So I could argue that this is Angel Reese's fault for not being cognizant of the situation. And she did it, but she's got to take the brunt of what came with it. On the flip side, you can argue it's nonsense. Why can the white girl do it and not the Black girl? Because if they're truly equals, like America says, and I tell people all the time, outside of math, equality really does not exist in this world. We like to use the word, but if they're truly equal, the media could be wrong for going at her. What do you think? Which perspective do you lie on?
Okay, ready? So let me add this part to it before we get out of this one. I'm gonna be the different student who's completely thinking I'm gonna take the side that you said, so you can flip it back.
Okay, and let me just point out to your listeners, just because I make that argument does not mean I agree with it.
Oh yes, no. We don't. Right. But you need to be set.
Right.
It needs to be set. Yeah, before this,
right.
The tape. No.
Correct. Right.
That's why I'm doing the other side of it too. Ready?
Right.
Okay. So I'm a different student in the room. Okay,
Sure.
Mr. Boyce, and let's say you've already made your opening statement again.
Right.
All right. So she should. Here's my thing. Angel should know better. She knows that a white player can get away. It's not right. I'm not saying it's right. Mm-hmm. The world's not perfect, like you said before to Charles over there.
Right.
She should know better. She should know that this would have been a problem. If she can take the backlash, that's fine, but she should not be able to do that. And an argument can be this too. When Caitlyn was doing it, she wasn't really in someone's face doing it. She was doing it towards the audience or the crowd, blah, blah, blah. That's a different way than when Angel literally sought out Caitlyn and went to her to do it in her face. So Angel was more aggressive with the trash talking versus Caitlyn, who was simply doing the "you can't see me" thing to the crowd. She wasn't in anyone's face, so it's really not the same thing. And that's
working the crowd like John Cena.
Working the crowd like Cena, getting that pop. So that's what I'm saying. So that's my point, Mr. Boyce.
So now let me go to the counter to what you just said.
Exactly.
First and foremost, who are you to dictate how somebody taunts?
Well, in someone's face is different.
Come on. What you're doing is indoctrination. Who are you? If I'm going to taunt, who are you to tell me how I taunt another human being? Right? That's number one. Right?
I won't say taunt. I would say that there's differences between the.
Is there rules to taunting?
That's a good question. That's what
would happen in the class.
Right? Are there rules to taunting? But who gets to determine the rules on taunting? You understand? That's number one. Number two, I would actually argue that you're racist against white people. Here's why.
Really?
You're telling me that the white girl can't take a little taunting from a black girl? Is she that weak to you? She's so weak that a black girl taunting her for 1 second of her life, she's now a victim. She can't take that.
But she didn't complain. She's never complained at all about it.
So why are you?
The media.
So why are you? So
no, I'm not complaining. I'm just, that's my perspective from the outside looking.
Well, I understand. I understand. But if she didn't, so you think that the white female player is so weak that she can't take a little taunting from the black girl?
That's not what I'm saying.
It sounds like your perspective.
Oh, and then the media needs to stand up for her.
Oh, yeah.
The media had to come and say that.
What, are white women now weak all of a sudden? Is that what you're saying?
That was really good, Mr. Boyce.
Right. Thank you.
Very impressive.
Right. And that's what we do in the class. And again, they don't know what I think.
I literally have no idea what you're taking.
Right. I can argue.
We actually haven't talked about it, so I don't even know yet. But either one sounds legit coming out of your mouth. Like, he could be this, and we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what makes your course so amazing. The fact that you've in the same room where we both try to play different sides, you flipped back and forth and argued both of us to the point where we were like, I mean, I guess he's right now. But a minute ago, I was thinking the other thing. Like,
right.
Like you said, it's critical thinking. That's
critical thinking. Just ask questions. And again, the key point, none of you are right. None of you are wrong. Exactly. It's just perspective. That's it.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Jamaal C Boyce talk about his class and his book, Teenage Perspectives on the Black Experience in America. It's available on Amazon and possibly at your local library. Please remember to vote at blackauthors.festival.com/vote, BAF24, for Jamaal C Boyce. And if you'd like to hear Mr. Boyce and Mr. Richardson debate the GOAT of the NBA, Lebron or Jordan, go back to previous episodes and look for episode 81, Boyce, Bron, Black Experience, and You, posted back in April 2023. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.